This transmission is balanced. Greetings, beloved sibling species. We are the sisters of Sarah, known on this earth and in this society and the ones that preceded it as the 7 sisters or the 7 infinities of the Pleiades, a star cluster that to your senses of sight appear to be many, many, many thousands of light years away, but which exists in truth in the infinite domain that is within. And indeed, that perspective is a wonderful one to commence today's transmission. It acts as a third and concluding part to the sharings done previously by the beloved Ekara and Lemuaya. Today's talk will be titled, as all talks are of course titled in your world, as the fabric of reality. This following the tuition on the horizon of reality by beloved Ekara, which by now you know is always at a distance and a duration of 144 in metaphysical mathematics. We understand that this piece caused not per se confusion in many, but questions, as do the practical application of the information shared therein. Today, we will get to that in a very real and direct way. Following that piece, you were given insights into the surface of reality by the beloved Lemuaya, and therein, as he used vortex mathematics to share deeper about the points made by him, you learned that the surface of reality, or the Lavat field, as you also have been taught it to be, is that separation, that boundary between the world of the 3, 6, 9, 12, 144 and the world of the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. Also, for some, a cause of some questions and confusion. But, as we said at the start of this piece, the simple understanding that everything that is not here, including in the higher regions of this Ekara and the home world itself, takes place in the metaphysical region ruled by the 3, 6, 9, 12 and 144, while everything else that you experience currently and have experienced as your material world, as some would call it, is in the mathematical realm of 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. And please know that these numbers do not have a linear sequence. You have been instructed that in their collision of 6, they are connected and flip through the so-called grand illusions of form, time, space, exchange, death, and separation, which indeed are the only 6 ways within which one can describe the material realm, matter itself, and energy, as you know it. All of this taking place in the vibrational, frequential, mathematical world of the grand illusions and of the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 structure, which one, for the sake of simplicity, can merely label the geometrical world. For as Lemuaya tried to explain to you, this is indeed the boundary that marks the surface, with below it the geometrical world, and above it, even in this land of Ekara, the infinometrical world, where we exist and where everything else indeed, once they have passed through this eye, exists. Today, we step into further detail and explanation and clarification of these topics, as we will describe the surface, the horizon, and the fabric, the structure, in other words, of reality. The first piece in this to understand is that everything that your senses are telling you is outside of you, is both outside of you but also within. Everything generated through the world of geometry and through the world of the grand illusions is projected, if you will, as it has been labeled previously, on the walls of your Merkaba field, which are always at a distance and a duration of 144. Now, this does not mean that if you were, or when you will, end this projection of geometry in your world, that you will be left with nothing. Automatically, your expression of reality will switch to the mathematical range of 3, 6, 9, 12, and 144, and has been explained to you by Lemuaya when he attempted to share with you the difference in reality perception when one does make that switch. He used, we believe, some practical examples of a bakery trip. Of course, a very simplistic and rather humorous idea, as well as discussing the world of those beings you know as being autistic, and in other words, expressing themselves very differently indeed. This leads one to conclude, as Lemuaya also tried to explain, that in order to experience the world of grand illusion, of form, time, space, exchange, death, and separation, and therefore the world of geometry, one must add to the metaphysical realm, and one must add to infinity. It has always been stated throughout the years in these teachings of Imzaia that the finite world that you experience around you is in fact built around the infinite world. And of course, to the mind, that makes no sense. How can something be infinite, but at the same time have something built around it? If an infinite realm has a finite realm built around it, is it then not by default finite in itself? No. Because the infinity goes within. And it always does. All that is expressed within is the infinite. All that is expressed without is the finite range that one temporarily creates in order to experience Ekara. You could refer to it in your modern day tech as a type of hologram. And therefore it appears to you as finite due to its programming limitations, if you will, as you create, as you generate the expression of the Ekara, and due to its exploration of the nature of the mind or the nature of Zavok itself, which by default is finite. So the projection that you appear to see when you peer far enough into it using your satellites and other technology, your telescopes, appears to those scientists who look far enough back to have a boundary known as the so-called Big Bang, which has been discussed. And if one looks far enough away, the boundary of the so-called universal horizon, due to the speed and therefore the limitations of light. This has led science to conclude that there must be an infinite continuation of the universe beyond the horizon, but of course, as you now know, there isn't. Because what lies beyond it is the world beyond space-time, beyond the grand illusions, beyond geometry. In other words, the so-called horizon, or the sphere of the universe as you can see it from Earth, is nothing but the total sphere of the line point itself through which the world of geometry is projected. And this is how you end up with a horizon and a surface to reality, as has been explained by the two gentlemen recently. But we are here to discuss the fabric, the structure of reality. And in order to do so, we must take these tuitions back a bit to when you were explained about the permutations of permanence by Lemuaya, and also some others that continued teaching about this a while ago. You were told that beyond time-space, in the line point, a permanent permutation of the permanent states is constantly happening. The permanent states being love, joy, freedom, da, ba, va, etc. We do not have to repeat them at this stage. As these permanent states are permutating, you were also told that the third, the sixth, and the ninth permutations were of great importance to Parana flow, including the zenith of the 12th permutation each time. And that this indeed, these permutations that happen at the third, the sixth, the ninth, and the 12th iteration of permutations inside of the line point, as it cycles through love, joy, freedom as building blocks, or has been called active ingredients of this reality, how this reality is woven and put together, including the reality of homeworld itself, don't forget. But as you learned that it is the third, the sixth, the ninth, and therefore the 12th permutation that is of such high value, as these permutations of the permanent states are what forms the flow of Parana that comes into your chakra system and begins to flow, spiral through you, into the second and into the third chakra and back out again. And as this is indeed the life's blood of the Creator itself, many of you may have forgotten to ask themselves one very vital question. If what is happening in the line point, these permutations that occur there, are indeed permanent states, then why would the first, the second, the fourth, the fifth, the seventh, and the eighth, and also the ninth, the 10th, and the 11th iteration of permutations be discarded? Is that not an energy system that knows loss, that knows a flow of energy into nothing, that would indicate that all these other permutations that are not 3, 6, 9, or 12 are merely discarded and dumped, like your factories dump their leftover waste into your rivers? No. But not many had this question. What happens to the rest of these permutations? And this is where it gets interesting. Because it is these permutations, as Lemuaya has already touched upon recently, that form the fabric of your reality itself. And you have learned recently that this currently is being done in the Savok universe of mind using the grand illusions of form, time, space, exchange, death, and separation. But that fact is not permanent. That fact is temporary. When, by beloved Ekara, throughout the years, Savok, or the mind itself, has been called a parasite, this is truly the best description that can be given. Because as Savok hijacks your Parana flow, it cannot touch the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th, and the 12th iteration, because in itself they form the Parana flow, the core and the heart of it, the stream of it itself. But it can touch the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. And that is a lot of energy to play with. But we said its best description is seen as a parasite, and this is why. Because the system that has been described since the beginning to you of November recently is a perfect system. It is a system in wholeness. This means that all these other iterations, besides the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th, and the 12th, are not meant as things to be discarded. They are not some sort of junk permanent states. As your science probably thinks, aha, junk. They love to label things junk around here. It isn't junk. You have been told that one of the major reasons of being in here, in this holographic training ground called an Ekara, is to explore Savok, but it is also, as you have been told, to nurture the seeds, your own private permanent states inside of your belly chakra. The ones that you have come here to plant and to let grow to full bloom. And as the wholeness of the system would have it, it is the iterations of the 1st, the 2nd, the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, the 8th, the 10th, the 11th, of your permanent states as they cycle through the Lin point and as they accompany the Parana flow that is coming into your system. It is those permanent states that are the nourishment for the growth of your permanent private states inside of your belly chakra. Now, this means, beloved people of Earth, that as long as you allow the energy of your mind and the energy of your Savok to hijack all of these other permanent states that come into your flow that are not 3, 6, 9, and 12, that are untouchable by default. As long as you allow those to be hijacked by Savok, to be turned into the grand illusions, both externally and internally, you have no food, no nourishment for your private permanent states in the belly. In other words, as long as you as a human, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, adhere to the world and the rules of Savok, you never give any growth to the seeds, the permanent states in your belly chakra. Now, this is not a good situation, because without that growth commencing, it is impossible for those such as yourselves to rise up into the next levels of this Ekara, which includes the entry into universal citizenship. The fabric of this reality is formed by those permanent states. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11, as they permutate and accompany, circle around the flow of Parana, which is the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th, and the 12th iteration, as it comes into your system. As it is attracted initially to the Ra point that is here, as the Pa Kuan Yin Son has taught you a long time ago, Savok hijacks that point, which then, in an attempt to protect itself, moves to the exit of the head chakra. The Savok point is born, hijacks all of those permutations that are not untouchable, creates with that the structure of matter and energy and vibration and frequency as you noted, and you experience it, and with that the grand illusions, and voila, you have a reality. A downward spiraling reality. The Pa Kuan Yin Son said to some here that after our talk today she would be surprised that there is anyone left that would think or wonder whether it was a good idea to implement the things we say to implement. We wonder the same. The question, we guess, is it a problem for you that most of your permanent states, as they flow into your being, are being hijacked by a parasite to create a world of form, time, space, exchange, death, and separation? If it isn't, then please continue as you are and turn off these recordings. But if it is, then it is time to take action. Because once that flow and the hijacking, particularly of the flow, has been shut down, and there is no longer a feeding occurring by Savok, or that which you know as the mind, but which could easily be seen as the ego-mind personality construct. But let's continue calling it the mind. Once that has been shut down, the flow of the permanent states that ultimately generate the geometrical field can once again become nourishing energy for the seeds of your own private permanent states in the belly. And it is these seeds coming to fruition that generate an unhampered flow of prana downwards and back upwards, where, as you know, on the way up from the heart into the head, you discover the pathway of Sankara, and in the head you discover the pathway of Vabhada, and you begin to become aware, more so than ever before, of the flow of prana, which, as you now understand, the heart of which is formed by the third, the sixth, the ninth, and the 12th iteration of the permanent states that are permutating in the Lin point beyond time and space, and the circling energy vortex around it, one last time, is generated by the first, the second, the fourth, the fifth, the seventh, the eighth, the 10th, and the 11th iteration of those permutations. Once that flow is again fully accessible, unhampered, the Ra point can allow itself to take over for the Savok point again, and the grand illusions that are stuck inside of your head chakra can be washed away. This is the work that the beloved Ra is planning to do together with you in their next 3 sessions that will follow ours. So the time has come to make that big decision. And then many wonder how. We once again reiterate the things that we and that Ra and that others have said. You must cast off the coat of harshness. And while many of you think that you are working on this, you still have not done any significant steps in that direction. We do understand, beloved species of siblings of ours, that this is difficult to see for yourselves, because you have been infected by the Savok parasite for so long, and as have your previous generations, your parents, your parents' parents, their parents, and the ones before them, and the ones before those, and the ones before those, and onward. So how could you know what it truly is like to not be harsh, what it truly is like to be meek? How could you know when, according to the standards of which we speak, all the saints that have ever walked around in your world truly are sinners? Yes, your saints are sinners by this standard. Even they. What it comes down to is to release the lifeless conditions of the time-space mathematical realm of repetition and survival, and to embrace the living precision of the metaphysical. To embrace that living precision is not difficult, but it does mean, and it is exactly why it is called precision, that you do not put other ingredients in your dish as you are cooking, as you are creating, as you are expressing, but for love, joy, freedom, truth, life, gratitude, grace, and well-being. And having been released by the Savok parasite by your own volition, the ones that are growing within the belly chakra, now that they are being nourished once again. That is the precision. Now, anyone would say that that is not so difficult. But stick to it. Many of you are trying, many of you are doing their utter best. And yet, you end up in conditions of the mind where it takes over and it throws you into the expression of grand illusions instead. And then you are annoyed, grumpy, angry, sad, simply flat, but certainly not in the precision of holding yourself to the ingredients of love, joy, freedom, truth, life, gratitude, grace, and well-being. The ingredients of Da, Ba, Va, Ka, Ra, Da, Ba, Va, Ra, Ka, Sa, Na, and Fa. Those are your infinite entry points into universal citizenship. It is simply impossible to proceed without choosing for that meekness. And to the mind and to the ego and to the personality, it can feel forced, it can feel fake. But when we say it can feel forced and fake, what we should say is it wants you to think it is forced and fake, to hold yourself to those virtues and to those virtues alone. No matter the situation that is happening around you, no matter the situation that is happening within you. It is only those beings that continue to do this diligently and without fail that will truly understand the horizon of this reality at 144, that will truly only then understand the surface that has been described by Lemuaya and what we are saying here today about the fabric and structure of this reality. Only then. Many of you currently are fascinated by the appearing of all sorts of objects, orbs, manifestations in general in your skies. And as this is coming to the surface, an interesting fact is coming with it, for which some who have attempted for years now to explain this to humanity have been mocked. And that is that in order for these so-called orbs, UFOs, UAPs, all of that sort of thing to show up, first of all, one has to be inside of one's personal time and space, and that usually means no cameras. And secondly, one has to be in a meditative state where one is literally adhering to the flow of Parana, the flow of love, joy, freedom, truth, life, gratitude, grace, and well-being, as we and so many others have constantly explained to you. It is when you express from that state that other forms of life which you think of as being in higher dimensions, can show themselves because you are adhering to their expression of reality. And if not, if they, us, if we wish to show ourselves in other ways, we A, have to do it like we are doing now, or B, using the geometrical permutations of 1, 2, 4, and so on, we must generate a finite field around us, which then can take the shape of an alien body, an alien ship, that sort of thing, so that it makes sense to the mind what is happening. But when you step into this living precision, all of that falls away and the truth can be revealed. The truth of the higher densities and realities of this Ekara, but also the universal citizenship for which so many of you are now ready. As you allow this hijacking by Savok, by this parasite, to come to an end by only adhering to the living precision of the states that we constantly discuss, and as the nourishing of your seeds inside of your belly, of the permanent states there, can begin again, you can open yourself up to what the beloved Ra has called harvesting. Ascension, the harvesting that they have been attempting to describe, of course, being the 4 permanent states in the belly, which you now take upward, outward with you as you rise into the next level and levels of this Ekara, and eventually back to homeworld, which you then call the ascension. That is what it comes down to. And so, for those of you who find it difficult to reach the level of meekness, the level of harshlessness, and therefore the level of simplicity that is required, many tools have been given that you don't even realize you have to your avail. For instance, the humming of Isis, our beloved sister, being such a beautiful tool, one that you can apply both in the external reality, as you simply go about your day and you go, da ba va, and onward. Like a nursery rhyme, you are singing to yourself and to the world. And even easier, to simply allow that hum of Isis to continue within you, within your mind at all times. Keep the humming going. Sometimes you will feel to switch to the expression of the permanent states, da ba va, and onward. Sometimes you will feel to use the Ishi elements, o, a, e, I. It doesn't matter. What matters is to fill yourselves up with this hum, with the singing of this song, to such an extent that there simply is no more room for the drama and the separation and the horror that you call normal expression and interaction in this world. That already is a wonderful wonderful thing to do and to keep doing until some time down the road you will be surprised as something confronts you with yourself. It could be something someone says, it could be a thought you have, it could be an interaction with yourself or something you do for a creature or another being. And you will realize that you truly are the meek now, and that you have not had an episode or an incident of Savok for days, weeks, months on end. That time will come, and you are so close to it. There is nothing standing in your way to achieve such. You are no longer hampered by restrictions of the world of geometry like you once were. You are in a state of infinometry as an entire species now. The geometrical states of the grand illusions only existing within you now, and with you in full ability to release them by simply singing the song, by simply understanding that you can live, that you can exist merely on love, on joy and freedom and truth, and on life, and on gratitude and grace, and on well-being within you and towards all things and beings around you. And that you do not need form, time, space, separation, death, exchange, drama, limitation, restriction, boundaries, safety, survival tools. You don't need them. No matter what comes at you, no matter who comes at you, no matter what could possibly get thrown at you, there is nothing that these permanent states cannot combine into in order to facilitate your continued expression and progression of your experience. Nothing. The geometrical world of the grand illusions keeps you in a spinning motion, as the Lemuaya sun has showed you, of what you think of as free energy, because it just keeps going and going, but which in here is the siphoning of your energy, as we have now explained. And so the creation of an entirely different fabric than the one that is the 3, 6, 9, and 12 permutations, which only knows the love, joy, freedom, and so on. When the beloved Lemuaya tells you that that version of yourself also already exists, he is extremely close to the point. And so are you as you are listening to those words. The one listening versus the one that you are choosing to become. The only difference there is a collapsed state versus a waveform state. And all it takes to choose between that being with its drama and its limitation versus that being that only expresses love, joy, and freedom, etc., is to only begin expressing love, joy, and freedom, etc. That is when that waveform version of yourself will collapse which is a strange word, of course, collapse into manifestation. And the one that you have been, with its drama and its limitation and its frustrations and everything, and its judgments and that sort of thing, and its mind and its ego and its personality, will merely become a waveform, a possibility, a potential, one that is now part of the past of yourself and the past of the other from your perspective on the path. That is all it takes. That consistency and continuity will begin to open up your eyes to the horizon. It will allow you to break through the surface and once again take your first breath beyond it. And it will allow the fabric of this reality to no longer be hijacked for you, as the nourishing flow of Purana can now fully reach your seedlings in your belly once again. Last time, when we spoke, we discussed the fabrication and the folding of worlds. And in our next conversation that we will have with you somewhat after the next 3 Ra teachings, we will go much deeper into that. However, there is one point that remains to be made here, and that is the one that we brought up previously, last time, about the rumble. The rumble is at both the horizon and at the surface of the reality, as you have now been explained in these last few transmissions. The rumble is both a sound and a feeling that can only best be described by those that have or are used to surfing on your oceans and have gotten caught up in a wave where the blue tunnel closes around you and the water takes you and you are swept from left to right, and all you see is bubbles and color, and you don't know what's up and down. That intensity, that force that one then experiences, which not many people do because not everyone surfs, that is the surface of this reality. That is the producer, the generator of this rumble that we speak of. Now, you cannot hear this rumble in homeworld. You can only hear them inside of Ekarayas such as this one. And it is an indication that you are in a temporarily finite created world with a surface, with an edge, with a horizon, therefore. Now, this is something that all of you hear your entire lives. Because as you know, no matter how quiet a room or a space you can find yourselves in, no matter how calm and slow you can make your own heartbeat through meditation in such a room or in such a location that is extremely quiet, you can never reach full quiet in here. There will always be something far, far away that you can hear, that you can feel. As we explained, it is a chaos. It is a grinding. It is vibrations reaching the end of a sphere and bouncing off of it and coming back as waves. But usually, to those that are deeply within space-time, it is ignored. The brain is very capable of removing sounds that are always there, but that are not necessary for your survival, for your fight or flight responses and that sort of thing. So these types of sensory inputs just get shut down. You don't hear them. But if you ask for yourselves to open it up again, you will begin hearing this rumble properly. It is at the same level of impact than the feeling of déjà vu once you truly begin expressing from and progressing from the perspective of the lin point outside of time and space in here. It is at that same level. When that becomes a normal thing for you to do, then this rumble will become normal for you too, even though you can hear it now. And all you have to do to hear it anytime is to wait for or work with the duration and the distance of 144, because it is always at that distance. And as it has been explained to you by the gentleman prior to us, that distance, that duration of 144 can be 144 feet, 144 meters, 144 seconds, 1.44 seconds, 1.44 instances, 0.1, it doesn't matter. Whatever mathematical situation you want to put it in, it will always be correct and it will always be 144. So even with the slightest of meditations that can take a second and 44, let's say, you can become aware of this. Now it becomes important to those that are serious about collapsing their own old selves that are dramatic and judgmental and too harsh, and moving them back into a waveform while opening themselves up to this state of meekness that even the saints on your planets have not been able to reach. It becomes important in that moment, because as you gain traction towards the point of success, where the collapsing of your old state will cease and the collapsing of your new state will commence, it is in that point that you will hear this rumble as a tsunami coming closer and closer and closer, until eventually it reaches your personal time and space, where it will wash over you and over any particle and anything in your reality, as this massive wave will wash away all that came before and regenerate the space to fit your new expression. It may regenerate the exact same space visually, but your interaction with it and with all things and beings within it will be tremendously different, as will your history, as will the possibilities of certain things that you are used to on this earth, such as suffering, death, war, mental strife, physical strife, and those sorts of things. So, working with the rumble as you get used to it will allow you to understand whether you are in a balanced state with the collapsed reality that you have generated, or as you will begin to feel and hear its increase as it comes closer, you know that you are on your way to collapsing the old reality into a waveform again, and vice versa. We will get deeper into this, but it is important for you to be made aware of it, because there will be some listening to this who, between us speaking now and us speaking then, next time, will reach that state, and we do not wish you to fall out of success, because you might be surprised with the intensity of the sound and the feeling as the reality that you are ending is collapsing around you, and what that feels and sounds and looks like. But now you have a point of reference. So once again we say in closing, it is up to you whether you wish to continue to allow this energy to be hijacked by the Savok state, by the Savok parasite, or whether you wish to take the steps into the universal citizenship that awaits, and where we await you in direct contact and direct expression that does not require bodies such as this one. We eagerly seek for you to take these steps, but we also will forever respect your free will and your choice in free will to keep yourself removed from your pure will. This is something we will not interfere with, and we never would. But for those that are ready, the adventure is here. The adventure awaits, and we await eagerly to be able to manifest ourselves in your world, in your direct environment, and to share time, to share the expansion of all things with you. Do not forget that you are the final species, the 12th, in this cosmic body that we all together are, and that we could not be more excited for you to come home. We all await you with great eagerness and great anticipation and great love. Until then, we are the 7 sisters of Sarah. We are in your heart, and you are in ours. Please be well, and please remember that everything that you seek is but this one step away that we have or hoped that we could exemplify for you today. Ohami to all beings, and so it is. Hello everyone. Thank you for being with us in this moment, and I look forward to continuing again soon. I think this piece, when properly examined, may just be that which helps you, aids you in making the switch. And I really hope with my entire heart that that is the truth. I still want to say, just don't give up. Don't give in. As the girl said, you are so, so close. Take those next steps. And connect to me if you find it hard to do so. I can help, if you wish. Have a good continuation of this moment. I am the Pakwan. It was my honor to present the 7 sisters of the Pleiades to you. And I look forward to seeing you next time.